Hi and welcome to Dad's Game in Denmark. Today we are going to present two games of pretty much the same thing. It's going to be two Marvel card games. One is Marvel Champions, that's me, and the other one is Marvel United.
That's me.
And we're trying to compare differences and similarities, and maybe for you to, if you want to buy one of these games and you're not really sure which one is for you, then this video is the one you want to watch right now.
So the way this is going to work is we're going to go over different points, and then we're going to find out what are the similarities and what are the differences between these two games that we are battling against each other to give you the most insight to what is for you. But without any further ado, let's get down to the first point. So the first point we're going to talk about is the visuals. As you can see on these boxes, there's quite a big difference. So Marvel United that I represent has a very cartoonish kind of chibi Funko Pop style to it. It is more of a childish look, and this also goes through the different components. Everything from the miniatures to the cards, and also for this game on the visuals, there is absolutely no text other than on the boss cards. So all the cards that you play are using symbols.
So that actually makes it more easy for your kids to get into the game. So maybe getting that into a young audience could be an advantage.
It could be. But what about Marvel Champions?
Marvel Champions is a lot more comic book related. It's a little bit more for the mature crowd, if you look at that. Also, the cards do have a lot of text. Still very nice pictures all around and great graphics. And I also think the way that they present the game is still like very professional. It looks like something that was they took their time to make. So it's if you really like the movies, then maybe this is the look that you're going for. So if you're looking at Marvel Champions and how easy it is to get into, there is quite a few keywords that you need to learn because they like to have their own keyword for each mechanic. Like drawing a card has a keyword, like drawing an additional encounter card for the villain has a keyword. So in that sense, it can be a little bit difficult because they do tend to increase the number of keywords with each expansion. But still, once you try it a few times, it flows kind of naturally. Also, you can, from Board Game Geek, easily download like a template where you can see the different phases that you need to go through. So if you just follow that, then it's not really that hard to get into.
No, and then in comparison for Marvel United, it is very easy to get into. I am using this and have been using for quite some time as a gateway game because there is no text, as I also mentioned in the visuals, and also it's very easy because you only have 4 different symbols and your special cards that can have a few lines of text, and that's all you need to know as long as you play with someone that has played before that can take control of the villain. So it's very, very easy. I would also say that that they have put this on an age cap of 11. You can definitely play this down to 7, 8 without any problems.
Yeah, that's definitely the advantage both games have, because in both scenarios, one player can control the villain, and once the villain does his thing, then you can react to that and you understand what's going on easily. And I think that goes to both games actually.
So for this point where we're talking about the price to enter, I will say that Marvel United is most like most of your box games. You can go out to your local store and buy this game, but it has quite a high price like it has with most of the CMON games. But you also get everything you need in the box. You get a decent amount of heroes, a decent amount of villains, and you get all the game components. If you want to dive deeper, there is a lot of expansions. Unfortunately, these expansions are split into 2 different sets. The expansions that was released for your local game stores that you can go get, and the Kickstarter exclusive expansions that will cost you a lot of money because you have to find them on eBay or some stores that have bought up a stock of them.
Yeah, we have Marvel Champions. It's not a Kickstarter game. It's Fantasy Flight Games, and they just produce games for retail. So the advantage here is that you can actually just buy the core box and you have a game. And you can select which heroes you want to buy. And the heroes come in different packs. And of course you get these big expansion boxes, which are not really that pricey. You get 2 heroes each time and usually 5 villains. So you get a very, very high value for your content. And you can choose which type of theme you want to go for. So if you want to go for only X-Men, you can buy the core box and all the X-Men, and then you have a game. Or you can buy the core box and just everything else, and if you don't like the Guardians, you can skip those. There's so much freedom. The one thing that might annoy you a little bit is that you go online and search for a deck, and then it tells you to use different aspect cards, and maybe you don't get that aspect card, needs that like 20 hero packs just to get all the aspect cards for that particular deck. But in reality, it's not really needed because some of these decks are really, really gimmicky. So you can still choose whatever you like. And of course, there are heroes that are weaker than others and some heroes that are just plain out strong. I don't know how that is in Marvel United.
So in Marvel United, it's quite balanced. So all the heroes are very basic if you go in for the first season, which is the box I have here for Marvel United. Then we have the season 2, which is the X-Men. And then we got the season 3, which is the Multiverse, and then there's also actually a DC version of United. But I think one of the problems, or can be problems and similarities between these games is if you are a collector and you want absolutely everything, this is gonna cost you.
It's gonna cost in both scenarios. Both games are gonna be costly. When you start, I started out buying just the core box. I didn't really feel it because I bought everything over a long period of time. It's been out for 4 or 5 years now, so it's been a long time period, and I didn't even buy everything yet. So I just bought whatever I felt like I needed, but at least nothing is Kickstarter exclusive. But what I experienced also that with Fantasy Flight games, at some point, some things are just going to be very rare. I think Doctor Strange is very rare at the moment, so you need to buy him again, like with say on eBay or maybe in a store, and they're gonna charge like very high price for him because he's in high demand, low supply. So I think that I don't know how that goes with Marvel United. Is it the Kickstarters only or?
Yeah, so the Kickstarters only are 2 or 3 expansions from the first season. It's the same for the second and third season. And then there's the stretch goal box, which is kind of your reward for being part of the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
And for the first season, that came with like 32, 33 additional heroes.
Whoa.
Like that was the big box, and that cost about double up of the core box.
Yeah.
If you can be lucky enough to find it. So that is one of the big problems. And also I would say go online, check what's inside each box, what people think, because there is, at least for Marvel United, some really good campaign boxes like the Sinister Six and the Infinity Stones campaigns, which are really good. And there's some other campaigns that's like meh. So go on, read, find a theme that you like, and then buy those boxes. I can say with the number of collections that we have, you absolutely don't need everything to play the game, and most of the time you won't play all of the stuff that you have.
No, so the FOMO part is not really necessary. It is stuck in everyone that you fear that you're missing out on something specific. But in all, I think both games can be played with not really a lot of content extra, just the core box and maybe a few expansions, and you're all set. Okay, so now we're gonna talk about mechanics, but both games again are very similar in that they are card-based boss battlers, which means that you cooperatively try to kill the boss, or maybe even solo. I think both games work very great in solo. I don't know if you agree. I think that's one of the strong points for Marvel Champions. It is really one of the best solo games ever made. So I think in that sense, that's why it's still so popular as it is today. And in terms of how mechanics work in Marvel Champions, you build your deck before, so it's pre-built decks. You have a bunch of cards, and with all the expansions you get even more cards, so you have so many options on how you can build your deck. Or you can use the pre-built decks that the heroes come with, and they have a very gimmicky touch, some might not be as powerful, but at least very gimmicky and somewhat fun. And of course you have villains in different categories. You can scale the villain up in difficulty, so if you're really not sure on how you're gonna play it and not really familiar with the mechanics, then you can still like scale up how the villain works against you and tone him down a bit if he feels like too difficult. Mechanical wise, they have like this card cost in the top where it says this costs 4, and then they have resources. All cards have cost and resources. Some cards are only resources, so you spend cards to play cards. So if you want to play a 3-cost card, then you have to pay 3 cards to play that one card, or maybe a double resource card and another card to play that card. And the villain phase feels very natural. It doesn't feel like very complicated. It does have a few phases that you need to learn, but it doesn't feel like unnatural to play. It feels like very cartoonish. The whole story, as you see, everything is going like a cartoon. So you're going face against the villain, and then he does something against you, and then he knocks you over and maybe into alter ego. So it still tries to tell like a comic book story as you play the game. So like you're playing a whole comic book is like the fight against the villain.
Yeah, and again, these games has a lot of similarities. So you have the boss that you try to knock out with removing his health, and he will try to win by scheming.
Yeah.
That is the same for both of these games.
Yeah, that is the same.
The difference here comes that in Marvel Champions you can thwart to try and remove this threat for the scheme, where in Marvel United you can either attack and fight henchmen and mini bosses, or you can rescue civilians, which is your way of kind of thwarting.
Yeah.
But the mechanics are kind of the same. You have two different lines that you can lose on, and you need to balance what you do to actually accomplish this. When that is said, Marvel United is a more simple mechanic because you only have your hand of cards, and those cards are both what you can play. There's no cost, but there's also health. So if you take damage, you discard cards. When you don't have any more cards, you're knocked out. And then you draw a new hand and you come back, and something will happen when you are knocked out. So in that way, it is a lot more simple. You can't manipulate the decks, even though in Season 3 we got the gear that you can use to kind of add support items for your deck, but in Season 1 and Season 2 you just get a standard deck from each hero. But again, the other difference is that on Marvel United you actually move around locations, so you have this board of locations where you have the different civilians, the different henchmen and minions, and you will move to a specific location to take your actions. And this is just to add a bit more other than just playing simple cards with one or two symbols like I want to attack for one, or I want to rescue one civilian. Then you also suddenly have the move action. The other specific mechanic for Marvel United is that when you play a card, the symbols you have on your card, the player after you is allowed to use. So you need to kind of plan and say, oh, it would really be a good thing if I could knock out this henchman, but I only can do 2 damage. So if you can play a 2 damage card as well to maybe defeat 2 minions, then on the next turn, the next player will have 4 attack symbols and can knock out that henchman. And that is where the cooperative part comes in. And this is where it kind of lacks in solo, is that you have to play all the heroes yourself. There's not like a pure solo mode because of this main mechanic. And that can make it sometimes a bit trivial to play solo.
Yeah.
I definitely think that Marvel United is a much better cooperative game with 2, 3, 4 players, where Marvel Champion is definitely winner of the solo part here.
Yeah, if you really want solo, then maybe Marvel Champions is the one for you. And again, cooperatively, it does have some cards, and you can make other heroes do something on your turns. They are adding more cards to it, but again, Marvel United has so much more focus on the cooperative part than Marvel Champions has. So that is kind of what you can't win in everything. Like if you really want a good solo mode, then the one that focuses on cooperative is of course going to win on the cooperative part. In the way that works. Of course, they do have team-up cards and stuff like that, so they are trying to improve it. And you can definitely tell X-Men also that you can like pay, or everyone can pay for the same card now. So I put this card, I want to play this, and everyone can pile in cards to pay for it. It adds a little bit to it, but still Marvel United is more really cooperative focused. So if you don't like controlling multiple heroes yourself, if you want to play like the true solo experience, then I think Marvel Champions is more in your ballpark. And if you want the cooperative, then it's Marvel United.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So when it comes to replayability, I think that both of these games are awesome. I will say for Marvel United, even though I represent it, when you have defeated a villain and you have tried it 4 or 5 times, you are starting to know the deck a bit, which means that the only variation you will get is a different hero. So if you only have the core set, you will have enough heroes to mix around for 4 players to play the same villain at least 10 times without it feeling boring. But you will need additional expansions or some of the bigger expansions with additional rules to keep it fresh. Or you need to keep adding heroes so you can make new combinations and new combos between the different hero packs. And of course some hero packs works better than others. So if you buy the Guardians of the Galaxy, they will play really nice together. The same if you play Into the Spider-Verse. But also the villains are very different. So there is not really like just he will go out and bash the heroes. Every villain feels very unique, and that also means that if you play 1, 2, 3 villains each time, I would think that you have close to infinite replayability with 1 to 2 expansions, because the decks are pretty big for both the heroes and the villains are all very unique in the theme that they are running at.
Yeah, so you also think the heroes have like a high replayability individually?
Yeah, so one of the problems is definitely that all of the heroes in season 1 feels like the same. So it is like everyone have 2 special cards, which is like their hero ability, and else they have like 1 card with 2 of the same symbol for each symbol, a number of cards with a specific combination, and then they have 2 jokers. So
Yeah.
there is not really any unique to the heroes in season 1. With season 2, which is the X-Men, and with season 3, where you also have the gear, there's a lot more replayability on the heroes because you have more cards to choose from when you play, and they also are focusing a lot more on the actual feeling, the actual trademarks of the heroes. It feels like season 1 was let's try it out.
Yeah.
But it's still a fantastic, fun game, and you still, when you get those 2 special cards, it feels like you're playing like the Hulk or you're playing Captain America that throws his shield at the henchman. But it is a lot better in later seasons.
Yeah, so it's also very thematically in the same sense.
Yeah.
In Marvel Champions, you have like infinite replayability. Like, really, you can take the 3 starter villains and you can just put in different cards, card sets. You can increase the difficulty in multiple ways. You can add so many varieties to the same villain. Like, sometimes it would just be weak, and another time you just add piles and make even standard sets. Core sets are also improved with standard 2, where he becomes immune to stuns and some stuff like that. And the same thing goes for the heroes. It's even more wild with the heroes. There are 4 main aspects, like 1 pool joke aspect, and then the basic cards. And each aspect has like such a big selection of cards now that you can just build, like, I'd say, like, easily build 15 variations heroes that will feel very different for the same hero. Also, they have like 50 heroes now, so replayability is really a high factor. And they play so different, each of them. They have their own unique mechanic. So I say the replayability in this game is like the biggest you can ever imagine and the biggest you can ever wish for.
Definitely a big plus here is that it's a deck building. So when Marvel United has static decks per hero, here you just go make a new deck because you only have like, what is it, 6, 7, 8 character specific cards.
Yeah.
And the rest you just choose.
Yeah, it is like close to 25. I have 15 cards.
Oh, it's so high now for the new hero?
It's the same all around. Oh. You just have those Nemesis cards and also
that's right.
The Jeffy cards and then all of those. So you still have like your core set, but you can still build them in such a different manner that maybe you're really good at thwarting. Maybe you can do like a high stat build where you just increase your stats and then boost all your stats for a damage hit. So you can make so many different variations now. Also leadership, which in the beginning was just focused on playing allies and buffing the allies. Also now it becomes like a bit of a buffing yourself and buffing your teammates and helping your teammates playing allies and in combination and make them all go together. Like a Guardians and Avengers with 1 playing card, you can make them all attack without taking damage. So there's really like a high combination rate in all aspects. You're not just playing one thing. If you're just playing, like maybe doing a card draw mechanic, if you feel like you have a hero that requires card draw, you can play Justice and just play cards that have a little setback, but still make you draw a ton of cards. So you can really increase the setbacks, the drawbacks that each hero has, or maybe increase their strength in separate ways now. So now we're going to talk about how easy it is to store these games. They all come with a bunch of expansions and a lot of content. So it's also important for you to organize it so that it's easy for you to take out of the closet and then put it on the board and play it within a very short time limit. So for Marvel Champions, it's pretty much only a card game. You do have some components that you need, like some tokens, but it's not a lot. It's not like the new games where you get like 100 different tokens. There's just the damage tokens, the scheme tokens, and then the health dials and player token. That's pretty much it. So you can store this like you can in any other card game. Like luckily we do have had Magic the Gathering and Pokemon, Digimon, these card games for a very long time. So the storage solutions are already there. So it's up to you how you want to use them. You can also get a broken token insert for Marvel Champions. You can also use the villain boxes or the expansion boxes for storage if you just want to do that. So it's really up to you on how much money you want to spend on it. I prefer the like Dragon Shield, Magic Carpet boxes or something in a similar vibe, where you can just have 3 rows of cards. So you can have your heroes in one box and your aspect cards in another box. In the heroes, the villain boxes or the expansion boxes, you can get like small deck holders where you can actually carry them around, so you don't have to carry all these big or like semi-big cardboard boxes everywhere. So it's easy to transport and it's easy to store. Of course, you have to throw away the boxes, and that hurts a lot of people, I know. But how is Marvel United in that sense?
Yeah, so I think one of the problems that both these games have, or at least both CMON games and Fantasy Flight games have, is when you buy a box, especially an expansion box, it is like 67% air.
Yeah,
Like
that's true.
you open up like a box of this size, and then inside you will find a deck of this size in the middle, and the rest is just air and plastic. Which also means that you have a lot of boxes. So we actually did a storage video, a link will go up here in the corner, about how we reduced our boxes for Marvel United. But there is some really good inserts out there. You have foam inserts, you have wooden inserts, you have 3D printed plastic inserts. And it really helps. Like you are most of the time able to get 9, 10, 11, 12 boxes into a couple of boxes with using custom storage solution, even if you sleeve all your cards. And that is just, I think it is an absolute requirement for these games to find some kind of custom solution.
Yeah.
Unless you have unlimited shelf space. Because I knew that if I had to store all 12 boxes instead of the 2 I have now, I would have to let a lot of other games go.
Yeah, that's the thing here. How is it with sleeving? Do you think it's a requirement?
So I do think because the decks are so small and are reshuffled from time to time, also again, it kind of depends on who you play with.
Yeah.
Some people you play with have can handle cards a bit rougher than others. So for that specific point and due to the reshuffling, I have sleeved all the heroes, but I haven't sleeved the villains because most of the time you only shuffle the villain deck like once during the fight. So it is who are gonna handle the cards. I'm normally handling the villain myself, so I'm not afraid of that. But handling and shuffling are the 2 main parts of why you should sleeve, definitely.
Yeah, also like if you got older cards and suddenly you get newer cards, if you shuffle your deck, you know if you're gonna draw one of the older cards or one of your newer cards if you haven't done that. I've tried that in other games where I can see, wow, I bought some new games. Oh, I wonder what it is. Oh, it's that card with the scratch on the back. So that also kind of one thing. But the other one is that these cards are going to be rare at some point. You need to, if you want to buy them again, you need to pay a lot of money for them. So I think just the value itself, if you really want to get these, like say one of the heroes are really rare right now. So if you want to buy just one of his aspect cards again, when aspect card gets ruined, you have to buy the whole hero pack again. If that's expensive, then that kind of sucks. So it's also like having the quality of your cards all the time, and you feel like you have the same quality, you're not afraid to like shuffle them hard or something like that, so you don't have to worry about that. And I think that's very important also. Of course, it's going to take up more space, as we're talking about, but I still think it's worth it.
So the good thing is that most of the storage solution for both games, especially if you just use standard trading card game components to store most of your components in, they are designed for sleeve cards.
Yeah,
all of them is designed for sleeve cards, which also means that most often sleeve cards are put in kind of a more snug fit.
Yeah.
Then if you have them, they can kind of shuffle from side to side if they're not sleeved.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the storage solution. So again, it's up to you whether or not you want to sleeve, but I would definitely recommend sleeving the hero decks at least for both games.
Yeah, I would also, but still the villain decks also. I think you have to reshuffle quite a bit, especially if you're playing 3 or 4 players. It's suddenly, I mean, you're also using the same cards. Like you're using like the standard set one, you're using that for pretty much all expansions. And if you're gonna shuffle that and again and again and again, at some point it's just gonna be worn out. So if you only sleeve that, then you know which cards you're going to draw. So I think sleeve everything. It is expensive, I know, but it's better than just keep buying and buying and buying, rebuying one stuff because one card gets destroyed. You have to buy the whole thing over again.
So based on all the different points that we have went through, I will say that if you're playing with people that's not usual playing big advanced board games, or you're playing with younger players like children or teenagers, then Marvel United is probably the game for you. It has a lot more of different components and is a bit more visual with the locations and the minis, even though the minis are almost not needed for the game. And it is easy to teach people to play. They feel that they actually know and understand and can play the game on the first try.
Yeah, the minis are more like to make people emphasize what's going on.
Yeah, it's kind of a gimmick just saying I'm on this location. It could as well have been.
But it can emphasize the learning curve to really understand what's going on. Whereas Marvel Champions, you have to pre-build your deck, and you really need to know what you're doing. Even if you go online and choose a deck, and you don't necessarily understand the mechanics behind it. So if you really want to delve deeper into a game and want to play solo or want to play in a group that you play with every time, then Marvel Champions is probably the better choice here. Also because you're getting like tons of expansions, you're buying into it, and maybe some other people can help you buy into the game if you're like the same group all the time. But still, the deck building aspect of this game is probably the thing that will take this to a little bit more on the tougher side of the learning curve and of the play curve, whereas Marvel United you could just bring to any event. Like want to bring some board games, I bring Marvel United, boom, takes a few seconds to learn, and then you're all set to go. Whereas Marvel Champions has to prepare a little bit. Even if you pre-build deck for your friends, they still need to understand what's going on. So again, that's why the game's really different from each other, I think.
That was all the different points that we have wanted to talk about for these two games. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more versus videos, then please write a comment down in the section, both what games you would like us to compare to each other and also what you thought about this. Are we right? Are we wrong about what we said?
Yeah, and also make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel. It's really important for us to help us grow if you want to see more of our videos also. So until next time, we'll see you then.